on the larynx, the hyoid bone up here, okay? This ligament right here is called the thyrohyoid ligament because it goes from the thyroid cartilage to the hyoid bone. This is all thyroid cartilage here, this larger section of cartilage, and this protruding structure right here is the laryngeal prominence. Okay? Below that, we have a section right here that is called cricoid cartilage. And below that, we have the tracheal cartilages. Those are C-shaped, they keep the trachea open at all times. And this right here is the epiglottis, which covers the entrance into the trachea during swallowing. We have on the back, we have the arytenoid and corniculate cartilage, but I'm not going to ask you that because we don't have enough time to study all of those. We will have the stomach on the exam, and we'll go over that in class today, but this is the esophagus that leads into the stomach. The entrance to the stomach is called the cardia, and the exit from the stomach is called the pylorus. The stomach is curved, it has a lesser curvature here, and it has a greater curvature on the outside. And on the inside of the stomach, we also have plenty of folds of the mucosa layer so the stomach can stretch out. And these folds of the mucosa layer are called rugae. These are all rugae. And you can also nicely see, not on this one, you can see right here there is actually a sphincter muscle that controls the exit from the stomach, and that is called the pyloric sphincter. That controls if the contents from the stomach can leave and get into the duodenum of the small intestine. Inside the small intestine, then, that's where the main nutrient absorption takes place. And we'll go over the stomach in lecture today as well. Here, that's a model of the pancreas. The pancreas is very important for the digestive system. Other components you can see on here, these are the kidneys. We'll learn about them today. Both kidneys are kept by adrenal glands, and this right here is the spleen. And this section right here, that is the pancreatic duct, because the pancreas is considered a dual function organ. It is capable of exocrine as well as endocrine secretions. And can you think of an endocrine secretion of the pancreas? Remember, endocrine secretions go into the blood. Yes, insulin. And exocrine secretions would be the gastric juices. They get secreted into the small intestine, which is right here, this section. We have the colon here, and the colon unfortunately suffered a catastrophic injury. But the colon is pretty easy. We'll go over that. That's the large intestine, and we'll go over the sections. They're all written on the board there. But the small intestine leads into the large intestine at a valve called the ileocecal sphincter, because the last section of the small intestine is called the ileum. The first section of the large intestine is called the cecum, and that also has the appendix attached to it. So this little worm-like structure here is the appendix. And then we have from the cecum on, the large intestine continues as the colon. It has a section that goes up, which is the ascending colon, a section that goes across, which is the descending, which is the transverse colon, and a section that goes down, which is the descending colon. And after the descending colon, we have an S-shaped section. You can actually see it better from the inside here, and that's called the sigmoid colon. And then the outside here, this last section is the rectum. The exit from the digestive system is the anus, and inside the rectum is the anal canal, right here. So those are the sections of the large intestine. For the small intestine, we don't have a model, but there are 3 sections of the small intestine, the duodenum, jejunum, and the ileum. And I may ask you to list those on the lab practical. This right here is a liver model. Okay, the liver is made up of 2 lobes, and the 2 lobes are separated by this dividing membrane here, which is called the falciform ligament. The purple blood vessel here, that's the hepatic portal vein that brings all the blood from the digestive system with the freshly absorbed nutrients to be cleansed in the liver, and then the hepatic vein feeds clean blood back into the inferior vena cava before it gets returned to the heart, refilled with oxygen, and then returned into the systemic circulation. And this structure right here, which is found underneath the right lobe of the liver, so the liver actually sits like this in the body, but that is the gallbladder. And the gallbladder has a bunch of ducts because the liver actually makes a substance that's stored in the gallbladder, which is bile for the emulsification of fats. But the gallbladder itself cannot make bile. It can only store bile and then release it in response to a fatty meal. So you can actually live without the gallbladder because you can still make bile. So there are a bunch of ducts that connect to the gallbladder that come from the liver to collect the bile, but then also outgoing ducts that secrete the bile into the small intestine for the emulsification of lipids. But the only duct you have to remember, to make it simple, since we are so pressed for time, is the duct right here, which comes right out of the gallbladder, and that's called the cystic duct. That's the one connected right to the neck of the gallbladder. So that is the duct that will both receive bile but also secrete bile back out of the gallbladder. And that's all about the liver. We have this model. We'll talk about the tooth during lecture today, but every tooth has 3 key sections. It has a section that sticks out, that is the crown. It has a small section that sticks in the gum line, that is the neck of the tooth, and it has a section that is hidden and invisible in a normal tooth, and that is the root. So those are the 3 key sections of a tooth: crown, neck, root. We can also differentiate between different layers. The outermost layer of the tooth is called enamel. That is the hardest layer because it has a lot of minerals in it. It's a hard mineral matrix. Below that we have dentin, and inside the dentin we have these little dentinal tubules that connect to the pulp cavity, the red part here, and the pulp cavity has 2 roots attached to it, but that's where blood and nerve supply enters each tooth. And at the bottom here, to get into the tooth, we have 2 little openings that are called the apical foramen. That's where nerve and blood supply comes in to fill the pulp cavity right here. And what do you think the brown stuff is? That is tooth decay or caries. And this is pretty serious because it has gone through the entire enamel layer into the dental layer. As soon as you get into the dentin layer, that tooth will be hot and cold sensitive. And this is almost to the level of the root, so most likely to get this fixed, you also need a root canal. And what they do in a root canal is they take the blood supply and the nerve supply out, and they pack this area with these little tubules so you don't get any bacteria or nothing growing in there, and then the tooth is basically dead. So you can't feel that tooth anymore, it won't have any more sensitivity, but you can keep your tooth. And the tooth still sits in that bony socket, which is called, that would be a key thing on the final, what's the joint called where a tooth sits in a bony socket? That's a gomphosis. So the tooth still sits in the gomphosis, in that socket, and it is held in place by the periodontal ligament, which is a ligament that connects to the outside of the roots that keeps the tooth in that socket. But the tooth is dead, so you can hit it, you can, you know, it can be, it's no longer hot, cold, or sensitive to anything, but you still have your tools. That's the advantage of the root canal. And kidney model. The first one right here shows you the overall anatomy of a kidney. The outer layer is called the renal cortex. The layer below is called the, actually I take that back. The outermost layer, is called the renal capsule. The layer underneath here, that is the renal cortex. And why is it important to call that the renal cortex? Because the brain had a cortex too. And then below that is the renal medulla. That is this layer right here. The renal medulla is made up of renal pyramids, which are these triangular shaped structures here. And the renal pyramids are separated by renal columns. All of the renal pyramids then feed into a minor calyx, a major calyx, the renal pelvis, and the renal pelvis is continuous with the ureter right here, which leads into the urinary bladder. This right here is a nephron model, and the nephron is the functional unit of the kidney. And it shows the glomerulus, and we'll see that in lecture again, but it shows the glomerulus, which is a blood knot inside a capsule. It shows the kidney or the renal capsule, and it shows all the ducts that are connected to those capsules. There's a set of tubules. There are proximal convoluted tubules, distal convoluted tubules, and a loop structure, and they all feed into a collecting duct. And all of these collecting ducts then feed into the minor calyx, major calyx, renal pelvis, ureter, urinary bladder. But we'll go over that during lecture and if we have extra time here.